Speaking of missing things, grabbing things that will help you later in the game, which type of player are you? Are you one that uses your items, or are you one that saves them just in case and ends up with a full inventory at the end of your game?
Welcome back to the side quest. Final stretches ahead, so refill your flask and clear out your inventory. In part 3, we're shouting out the RPGs that never got their flowers, praising world maps like they're sacred texts, and asking real questions. Why are we still hoarding 99 elixirs that we're never going to use? So let's wrap up in true RPG fashion, over-leveled, slightly chaotic, and way off the main quest.
So, one of the questions that I'm trying to ask everyone, if it comes up, is if you could tell someone to play an RPG, like what RPG game would you recommend to someone that is still playable by today's standards, that doesn't get the love, recognition, and appreciation you feel it deserves?
Ooh.
So, Guillaume picked Romancing Saga 2. Yes, it's just had a remake, and that remake, he said, has addressed quite a lot of the, if not all of the flaws the original game had.
It's a great game. I really enjoyed that remake.
He said that it is, without a doubt, if the most, not underrated because the game is not underrated, but it's not out there. It doesn't get the recognition that that game deserves, and he's like, he didn't even hesitate when picking that. So if you could recommend someone to play an RPG game that doesn't have the mainline stream spotlight on it, like, is there a series or an individual game that you would go to tell people to go play? Because for me, it's Dark Cloud.
I've got a couple that I'm juggling with because I don't know how I think that its perceptions have changed. Like, if I was to say, like, there's a Final Fantasy that comes to mind, and I think everyone should play it because it ticks all the boxes, and that's Final Fantasy V. Like, I think that's a must-play Final Fantasy. If you want to get into Final Fantasy or just RPGs in general, it ticks all the boxes, especially in the gameplay department. You can have a real good time. As for like something maybe that's not really known, we briefly spoke about it, and I would say the original Ni No Kuni, just because I feel like the ship came and it sailed, because I don't see many people talking about it nowadays. Just because for me, during the PS3 era, like RPGs, especially Japanese RPGs, kind of was in a lull, especially because I was a PlayStation guy and I didn't experience like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon on Xbox 360, which you talk to anyone about will say, like, yeah, these are amazing RPGs you should play. But on the PS3, like after Final Fantasy 13, which some consider not really being a Final Fantasy, and that's probably an argument for another time, there wasn't much turn-based or anything like on PS3, and Ni No Kuni for me was like revitalized the JRPG genre for me, just because again it ticked all the boxes and it had a world map. Like, man, world maps, we need them in every, I don't care if my character is bigger than the building I'm walking to, like, just give me that sense of like traveling. Like, a world map does a really good job of that sense of exploration without going into every nut and cranny. So yeah, Ni No Kuni, I think a lot of people need to play that game to understand how good it was to experience it. And then I've got like a really lowball one, just because it's a personal, like, guilty pleasure of mine. It's really hard to recommend because it's so damn dated. And there's a game called Shadow Madness on the PS1, which is created by the person that did all the translating for the Final Fantasy games back in the day. And he went off and made his own studio. So the writing and
This is the man responsible for a Spoony Bard.
I believe so. I think his name's like Ted Plosy or something like that, along those lines. But he made his own studio, and they made this RPG called Shadow Madness, and it was supposed to be like a Final Fantasy killer, because when Final Fantasy VII came out, a lot of studios tried to capture that lightning in a bottle and bounce on it. And this was one of those games. Mechanically, it's very clunky. The writing and the story is actually really, really good. But it's so damn dated. Like, I think someone should I would recommend someone to like just play it the first couple of hours and just get a feel for it.
I believe the man we are looking for is Ted Woolsey.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah, studio he made is called Graveyard Studios.
Yeah, I think it's like Crave Entertainment or something like that. Yeah.
So it might be worth going to have a butchers and see what other games they came out with as well.
I don't think they came out. I think that was the only one. I think
was that it? Was it a one and done?
It didn't do very well. I own it. I did a video speaking about it just because it was entered my mind. Like, I enjoyed the game because at that time I was looking for something that was like Final Fantasy VII, and that was like Final Fantasy VII. You look up that game on YouTube and there's not a lot of people talking good things about it, but I think it's worth someone to at least try.
Apparently, wow, okay. That is a hell of a list by Graveyard Studios. Might not all be developed by them, but there's some of them might be publishing if they have a publishing department. There's a few names I recognize here. We have, they're responsible for the movie rendition of Bad Boys Miami Takedown. They've done some Cartoon Network games.
I see Jade Cocoon. That's probably a lot of people may have heard of Jade Cocoon. I think
that must be publishing because Jade Cocoon 2 is not on there, and Jade Cocoon 2 was a very good game. Gex 3, yeah. So. Yeah, even if they didn't quite make it as a developer, they seem to have hit the nail on the head as a publisher with some of those. Yeah, I am trying to get my hands on a copy of Jade Cocoon for the PlayStation and Jade Cocoon 2. Unfortunately, when it appeared in near mint condition at my local CEX, I did not have the £120 to spend on it, as it was mint sealed in box.
Oh wow.
But yes, that was that. I think that tried to capitalize on the Pokemon influence at the time.
Couldn't you? I've not had the chance to play. It's on my list to eventually dive into. But is it the game? Is it the game the way you could put in like audio CDs and you get like something from it? Like if you was putting a music CD.
If that's the case, I did not know that.
I might be getting it mixed up with another game, but apparently if you put like a different CD in while the game's on, it recognizes it and you capture something. I might be getting it wrong with something else, but
either way, that would be a pretty awesome feature to have in an RPG game.
Yeah.
Is Pokemon something you were ever into? I mean, you grew up the same time as me. It was around. You couldn't avoid it. Is it something you dived into? Is it something you still play?
Yeah, I mean, I always forget about Pokemon because I would have played that after Final Fantasy VII, probably. Because Yellow was my first one I played.
I want to say 95, 96-ish.
Because maybe
96.
Okay. So maybe I always discredit Pokemon because I may have played it and not known it was an RPG, and I probably am still in that mindset to this day. Like, it wasn't that. It might have been. Looking back on it now, everything I've just said is a lie. Pokemon Yellow was my first start. To be fair, I don't know when I played Pokemon Yellow. It might have been after Final Fantasy VII. But I enjoyed Pokemon just because back then, I don't know if it would be the same now, but I lived in like a cul-de-sac street. So I could walk out the door and the person across the road or up the street would also be playing it. And one of them would have a link cable. And that was a really unique experience back in the day. Like, there was one person there was always one person that was on the street or in the local community that had everything. They had both red and yellow, and they transferred them all to themselves. And they had the little Pokeball next to each name. And you'd be like, whoa, you got all the... But I like that aspect of it. And I played Yellow, and then I got Gold. My brother got Silver. So obviously we traded amongst each other. And then I got Crystal, and then I fell off the wagon. It might have been just not watching the cartoon anymore, and that might have led into not being interested in the games. Maybe I was just overwhelmed that they were adding 100 Pokemon every generation, and it still overwhelms me to this day because I have that completionist type mindset sometimes. And I remember finally going back to Pokemon with Pokemon X and Y because I bought a 3DS, and it was my first Pokemon game since Crystal, so that is a big gap because I think X and Y must have come out like 2015 or something like that. Like, so you're talking a good 15 to 20 years. And I remember playing through it, enjoying it, but then being like, I cannot be bothered to catch all the Pokemon.
Everything.
Like,
yep.
And then the recent Pokemon games, I own them all. I have them, but I'm yet to capture the same feeling. I think that's why I have faith that maybe one day there'll be a Pokemon game that I can get the same nostalgia for. I think maybe I just need a remake of like a good remake of the originals to be invested. But Pokemon, it was one and done in the 90s kind of thing for me, I think.
Fair enough. Not everyone's cup of tea.
But it's a time you can't. I don't think you could replicate that feeling. I think they got very close with Go.
Yep.
But I don't in the like console gaming. I think I'm yet to see the. I always want to try it because I have faith, but I'm yet to be hooked again.
I play them all. I don't necessarily complete it in terms of completing the Pokedex, but I complete the games.
Yeah.
And same as you, Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, I played through. I've owned all the games, and then I sort of dropped. I've owned all the games as they've come out, but I've lost interest in them as I've been playing them quite quickly. Sword and Shield, I gave a proper bash as it's set here in England or a fictional version of England. Scarlet and Violet, I waited to play it until they fixed the bugs.
Are you still waiting? Are you still waiting?
And as Pokemon is marketed to a younger iteration of gamers, but I really enjoyed the Legends game.
Oh, I was about to say that. I was gonna jump in and say like I really enjoyed Arceus. That was the closest it got to me, like because it was Scarlet and Violet. I'll just make the quick comparison. Is I felt very. I have like a love-hate relationship with open world games. Usually to my own detriment. Like I overwhelm myself. Like, what, you're giving me 4 different options to go, but I want to do it all. So I kind of like tend to overwhelm myself with open world games. But with Legend Arceus and having it like zoned, and more contained in each, like it had a bit more of a structure to its story. Like a lot of people would say, oh, it's very linear, but I kind of prefer that. Like with a Pokemon game, I really enjoyed Arceus. So I'm interested in the ZA game that's coming out.
Yeah.
Because that also takes place where I came back into Pokemon, like during the X and Y era. So
you're saying about feeling overwhelmed with multitude of choices. I think that is, at least for me, and I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands of millions of people who do the same thing, is if you're playing an RPG game, you'll explore every possibility before moving on. And if I come to a 3-way section in a dungeon, for example, and then I find out I'm going the intended way, I will double back on myself and go down those other 2 paths before I carry on with the game.
Yeah.
It's like, what if I miss a treasure chest? I think if there's something that I feel could be played on there, like with exploration and stuff. Like I know some of it will be the illusion of choice. You get 2 paths, but they inevitably lead to the same place. But the RPG gamer's mindset of, what if there's a chest that I miss, or what if there's something else down this path that will help me later on, is definitely something that could be played on by developers.
It's a horrible feeling having that after playing RPGs, but then you go back to a game like Crash Bandicoot, and there are many levels in that game where they split off the paths, and you are like, and it's not, I remember specifically Crash Bandicoot 2, on the levels, it does split into 2 paths, but it's not till later when you can actually explore it. And because the way Crash Bandicoot's programmed and you can't turn the camera, going back on another path was a horrible feeling. But
speaking of missing things, grabbing things that will help you later in the game, which type of player are you? Are you one that uses your items, or are you one that saves them just in case and ends up with a full inventory at the end of your game?
That is a good question because it really depends on the game. I really do try when I play a new RPG or go back to one recently, that I will use the items as intended. Like, man, if I need to use a potion, I'm going to use a potion. If I need to use an elixir, I'll use an elixir. 9 out of 10 times, I am one of those people at the end of the game that have all my mega elixirs. I've got all my mega phoenixes. I've not needed to use them, but I wish I do use them more because they are actually quite good lifesavers. But I just never, I don't know, items. What a thing, right?
Yeah, and it's the things that they put in games that have quite a impact on how you play the game without necessarily the developers intending that to be a choice, like a moral, not moral choice, that's the wrong word, but it's a whole thought process that goes through your brain. It's like, if I use this now and I need it in 5 minutes time, I'm not going to have it. And you end up inadvertently making your life harder by not using the item. You said, like, with games you're coming to and playing, you've started using the items as intended. So what are you playing right now? What are the games that you're playing for the sake of enjoying them, not necessarily for content?
So,
and just the follow-up question to that in advance, you've mentioned Expedition 33 quite a lot, so I'm going to cross that off the list for you. What other games are you looking forward to that are going to be coming out either this year or soon that you're aware of?
awesome. So as for games I'm playing right now, like on stream, I'm currently playing Final Fantasy 15 again. In the relating back to the item chat, I am using items. There are items there that I would never have used. Like, there's a lot of items that would increase attack for a limited amount of time or increase defense. And I always have looked at those kind of items of like, nah, don't need to use that. I'm all right. My attack's fine. But it actually is quite a game changer. Not like an extreme game changer, but it certainly can get things done faster. So I've just been enjoying Final Fantasy 15 just to re-experiencing it because I've not played it since like 2018 is when I got the platinum trophy for it. So I want to go because I want to. I know this is relating to content, but I've got a series called the Platinum series where I platinum every Final Fantasy, and 15 is the only mainline one minus 14 that I've not got uploaded on the channel. But I was feeling like, oh man, I could quite easily get a video out on that now because I have the platinum, but I feel like it'd be a really disingenuous video because I've not played it since 2018. And my whole point of my platinum series videos are not only to 100% the games, but to reflect on how I felt about it first and how I feel about it recently playing. So that's why I'm doing that. It just gone up a bit of tangent just to relate it to why I'm playing it.
We promised them, so we'll deliver.
Yeah, we'll deliver. As for the games I'm playing in my own time, I'm actually playing through. I just talked about open world games and how I get overwhelmed by them. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows at the moment in my own time, and I am really enjoying that game. It's been I've been really relaxed with it, and the way I tackled it is how I've tried to program myself to tackle open world games is as soon as not necessarily visit every single marker on the map, but if I am within 100 yards of a location, if it's on the path that I'm traveling on the main story and it's just there, I'll visit it. And then if I'm still into the game, once I've completed the main story, then I'll do my distractions. And the way because I've been playing it like that, I've really enjoyed just encountering things quite randomly. So it's been a nice, chill vibe. I've also been playing, it's just been released, the Saga Frontier 2 remaster, which got shadow dropped a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
It's funny because like everyone's moaning about Square Enix not having any games released this year, and they just shadow drop one, which is quite funny. And that's been an experience because that's a very unique RPG in its systems. So it's been nice to just explore. I'll probably end up doing, it's going to be related to content, but I'm probably going to end up doing a video on it just as a first timer type thing. But I've been just vibing with that. Am I playing anything else? I've also got Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I've not really completely dove into yet because I do have a habit of taking on too many games at the same time, especially when you're making content as well. So sometimes I get myself into a bit of a hoo-ha of like, man, I want to play this game for myself. I need to play that game because I need to do a video on it. I need to play this game because this game's just come out, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And balancing, like, I think the end of last year, if you plus the games I'm streaming as well, I was like juggling like 6 games at the same time, and it's not a healthy thing to do because you just jump in from one game to another and then forgetting things. So I've decided, like, okay, I'm going to stop playing Xenoblade. I'm really interested in what it is offering, but I feel like I can push it to the side and play it a little bit later in the year. So that's it for what I'm playing at the moment. As for games to come, that isn't Expedition 33 because I'm really excited.
So am I.
That. What is coming out this year? I don't think there's. I'm excited for Ghost of Yote, which is slated to have a release date soon. I am looking forward to. There is another game. I can't really think of any that are coming out this year. There was another game I'm looking forward to, but I can't. Because I do like myself an action adventure game every so often, just to, like a nice linear experience, just to cleanse my palate a little bit. I'm looking forward to. I can't think of any. I'm just gonna have to go with Ghost of Yota. I can't think of any RPGs that are coming out this year. I know that the Luna Remastered Collection is coming out this month. I'm interested to have a look at that because it's one of those RPGs that are always on like a top 10 or top 20 must play RPG list. So the fact that it's being made available for modern platforms is always like a win in mine. So I'll probably try that out as well. But yeah, not much more on the horizon. I'm just hoping that with this, I'm looking forward to the Nintendo Switch 2, I guess, in a way.
Yes.
I'm waiting for that event, eagerly anticipating, like, is the Nintendo Switch 2 going to become my new main console? Because mine, at the moment, as it always has been, is the PlayStation. So I'm interested to see what Nintendo have got in. Because I was never a Nintendo kid growing up. I was more Sega. But I own a Switch. I'm just interested to see what they bring to the table. So I'm looking forward to the Switch 2, I guess, if that falls into the same category.
Why not?
Yeah.
Everyone's, again, rumors swirl, and oh my god, like, Final Fantasy IX is going to be announced Switch 2 Direct. Purely from a consumer standpoint, what do you feel are the pros and cons for obviously not saying it's going to happen, but what would be the pros and cons of Square Enix delivering that news in a Switch Direct or a Switch 2 Direct as opposed to their own announcement? I don't see why they would give that spotlight to essentially give it to Nintendo. I know there's the benefit of it's a Switch Direct. You're going to get more eyes on it than just people watching, but the dedicated fan base that is for Final Fantasy IX, we're looking at every single fucking nook and cranny for this game.
Yes.
Where do you think, from a consumer standpoint, the benefits come from something like that?
I do think, for the reason you said, that the Switch 2, I've made videos on Final Fantasy IX Remake since it was appeared on a list. And as that list, a lot of games have come out on that list, except pretty much 2 games which both belong to Square Enix, and that's IX Remake and Tactics Remaster. So to some degree they exist because that database, it was a leak. There's no beating around the bush. That it was either a concept, or it was at least like something that's been worked on, being worked on, or was worked on. It's one of those 3 options. So that's enough for me for speculation, and I love myself some speculation. But then there's things that have just happened along the way. Like we said, it's the worst kept secret to a certain degree because there was an Epic Games leak which had pre-order bonuses for it. There was, collaborations randomly for it in a Final Fantasy VII mobile game. It's included in Dawn Trail. This 25th anniversary website is solidified that it exists, just because the fact that the last time they didn't celebrate 25 years for Final Fantasy VIII. Like, sorry, Final Fantasy VIII fans. Like, I'm one of them, by the way. Like,
so am I. If they remake 9, they have to go back and redo 8.
Yeah.
And then they'll sell them as a trilogy and make even more money.
Yeah, and the fact that the last time that they celebrated a Final Fantasy's 25th anniversary is when Rebirth got revealed, amongst Ever Crisis and a few other Final Fantasy VII projects. Using past experience, it looks good. Also, the things that I've looked at the figures that they've got on the pre-order. They look like new designs to me. They've got a new recording of the main theme song. That's another like telltale sign of like, okay, they're redoing stuff. Like, but then going back to like why the Switch 2 Direct is probably the place to be. It's this event is going to have a crazy amount of eyes on it. Like, people have been waiting for the Switch 2 more than they've been probably waiting for a Final Fantasy IX remake. So that alone, like, this event, like, everyone's going to cover it. I guarantee you, go to your YouTube homepage, whoever you subscribe to, one of their thumbnails is going to have a red background tomorrow. Like, at the time we're recording this, like, there's going to be red everywhere. Like, it's going to have so many eyes, and everyone's going to be talking about it until they release the console. And as for Square Enix, like, Square Enix have shifted their concentration. Like, it was quite obvious for a long time that a lot of their games are coming out on PlayStation exclusively, like 7 Remake being an advocate for it. And they were very focused on certain consoles. They even they've got a good relationship with Nintendo. A lot of people forget that. Like, Octopath Traveler, that was exclusive to Switch. Dragon Quest XI-S was exclusive to Switch for a long time. Like
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Advanced.
Like, they've had ever since they had the kerfuffle with them before the PlayStation era, I think that relationship's made up, and I think Square are starting to see that, hey, we got value. They've changed the strategy as well. They're releasing a lot of their games on all consoles now. Like, there was, because they had the odd thing with Octopath Traveler, where Octopath Traveler 2 was available on PlayStation, but it wasn't available on Xbox. But Octopath Traveler 1 was available on Xbox, but it wasn't available on PlayStation. Like, they had all these wires crossed, and I think because they've got a new president now, that's why we don't really have heard anything about Square Enix this year, because I think they're in the midst of their reset. Like,
reshuffle.
They're executing what they said they had planned. They've told us this was going to happen. They told us that they're reshuffling the way they tackle their game releases, and they're not going to announce games years in advance anymore. Like, everything's going to be happening quite concise, unless it's a bigger release. Then I think you probably want to give it like a year window. So the Switch 2 just makes sense, because if I'm saying, I probably will speak, like I said prior, like, Final Fantasy IX, in my eyes, is Final Fantasy. It's a very good game to get a lot of people into the series, and tell you what the series is all about, without the restraint of like, oh, I've got to play the previous 8. Like,
yeah.
So if it doesn't show up in the Switch 2 Direct, then they obviously have a plan for it, if it exists. I'm acting like it's going to happen.
I think we all are at this point.
Yeah. I think if they were to do their own announcement on it, it would still like be exciting. But it would be the ones that are expecting the remake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do it on the Switch 2 Direct. You can pull in a lot of people, because they'll be like, "What's all this hype about?" Like, because I'm assuming that people will be in the live stream. They'll see the live chat. Everyone react it. Say if it gets announced, everyone like going crazy, and there'll be a lot of people like, "Why are people going crazy about this game?" And there you go. Like, you've got yourself like a stupid amount of sales. Not that it's going to be exclusive on Switch 2. I just think I think it's going to come out on all consoles. I just think that you need to pick the best place where you think it's going to get the most eyes.
And that'll definitely be Switch 2. Yeah,
if not, there might be a PlayStation event that it could be, because a lot of people relate Final Fantasy to the PlayStation, because Final 7, 8, 9.
7, it's been its home.
Yeah. So the possibilities are endless. I just look at it from like this day and age where everyone's on computers, everyone's going to be watching this live stream either on the phone, tablet, whatever. Like, if I was Square Enix, if I was working there, I would be like, hey, this is where we need to say that we've got this game coming. Like, this is where we announce it. If not, then, and they've got somewhere else to announce it, then there's probably the reason why I don't work there.
Going to be a lot of 20, 30-minute breaks coming up at people's works tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited nonetheless. I think you can tell when I talk about it. Like, I always put my expectations in check. Like, I'm not going to be swearing on the internet if it doesn't get announced. I'm not going to be like raging, but I just love the conversation and the speculation. I thrive in that.
You were just speaking about that certain games are only available on certain consoles and stuff. Literally just before this episode we started recording, I was talking with my brother and we're looking into the romancing, or rather the Saga series. What's available, what consoles, etc., etc. I've only started recently looking into it because of previous conversations I've had recently. I didn't know if Saga 2 was a direct sequel to Romancing Saga 1. It's not. But I know the series started off as a spin-off from Final Fantasy because the original ones were known as Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Romancing Saga 2 Remake is not available on all platforms.
That's true. I think even like the Saga Frontier remastered that I've just said, that's not available on Xbox as well.
But it's bizarre because, like, I think it's either 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 originals are on Xbox, and then the vice versa for PlayStation, but then PlayStation also has the remake. And it's just like to the point where Xbox are now releasing their own exclusives on PlayStation. You can get Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, and they have spoken about trying to get Game Pass on other consoles. Like, they've said that the console war is over. You don't need to, like, every game should be made available to everyone, and you should just be able to play it on your console of choice due to personal preference. I think that is a road that needs to be fully embraced.
Indeed, I agree.
And it's very, like, prime example of it happening recently is with Monster Hunter Wilds being completely cross-play between all platforms, PC and console, and Baldur's Gate in patch 8.0 are going to be doing the same thing, completely cross-play. It just needs to be the standard moving forwards.
Imagine if you had to choose if they did it with films. Imagine they couldn't watch a film, and I mean, I guess in a way they do when it comes to streaming services.
Yes, but
I guess it's different. But imagine like if it came back to physical media, it's like, oh man, I don't own the Blu-ray X player, so I can't get this film. Like, it's silly. You want your products. I'm glad that we're definitely in a different place than we were 10 years ago. I mean, I've always been a PlayStation guy, and I probably always will be. That isn't because I'm like I hate Xbox. It's just become the norm for me. Like, I've never been into the console war stuff, and there has been a lot of games that I've missed out on because I've not owned an Xbox, like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, and like I've really wanted to play Starfield, though I look like I might be getting the opportunity to play that if it's coming to PlayStation anyway.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is coming out like this month, and I really want to play that. Like, it's a very different time, and I'm glad that even PlayStation are doing it to a certain extent, because in that Nintendo Direct we just had, they had like the Hot Shots. Was it Everybody's Golf Hot Shots?
Yes,
that's a Sony
Sony
IP.
owned game.
Same with Patapon as well, and they did it with Lego Horizon. I think we're in a day and age where a lot of people own PCs and game on their PCs. Like, PC seems to be the metric that everyone goes off nowadays, isn't it? Like, when a game releases, how many sales did it make on PC? I think like the landscape has changed, and I think in another 5 years' time, I think you'll see everything on anything. I don't know what I think when it comes to consoles, I think it's going to be probably Sony and Nintendo to exclusive machines. I think Nintendo will always be doing their own thing. Like, it's weird how we speak that we want everything on other consoles, but we've never had a problem with Mario just being on the Switch.
Mario, Zelda, or Pokemon, and not leaving Nintendo.
And I don't think they ever will. But I'm all right with that. It's weird. Like,
Yeah.
because Nintendo are a Nintendo.
But are we all right with that? Because we already got pissed off. Not us, but as a community got pissed off enough with, like, for example, for the longest time, Crash Bandicoot and Lara Croft were considered PlayStation mascots, and that infuriated a lot of people when it wasn't the case anymore. Like, PlayStation, I don't believe, had a true mascot after that until Astrobot, and Xbox, like, again, like Halo, same situation. Although that hasn't quite happened. They said it will be happening, but are we all right with that because we've already experienced it? If you see what I'm getting at here,
because they were like system sellers at the like, buy the PlayStation because you're going to get Uncharted. Like, buy an Xbox because you're going to get Halo. Like, now that there's, we're also, I feel like when it comes to consoles, like, for me, I don't know how you can make a new console like more appealing for me. I think my threshold of like wow graphics has been reached. I don't think you can wow me anymore. I mean, the last thing that I've been impressed with is probably the DualSense controller for PlayStation. Like, I think that's a fantastic like thing, but I've never been like, oh man, look at the graphics from Xbox to PlayStation, because you'll always have someone on PC waltz in and be like, well, with my 5090, like,
yeah,
I'm not interested in ray tracing and stuff like that. So really okay with like maybe the Nintendo Switch 2 will become my next main console, because I'm pretty relaxed. I just want to play games and I want to talk about games. And I think I've always been okay with like, one thing I've noticed when talking about Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy being, with the remake specifically and Rebirth only being available on PlayStation and then eventually PC, there's a lot of people that don't game on PC and a lot of people that don't own PlayStation, and they make that apparent in the comment section.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It needs to come to Xbox. You need to be able to, because I would love to talk to you about it. Like, I just want games to be enjoyed and to share conversations.
If they did do exclusives, I think that's how they should do it, timed exclusives.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with the new Halo game or the new Zelda game. Like, I know we've spoken about Zelda not, but just for an example, only out on their native console exclusively for 6 months a year, and then it will be available to everyone else. That is fine. Don't have an issue with that. I can wait a year to play a game. I have 30,000 other games I haven't played yet that I'm still not going to get around to in that time to hold me over.
I remember doing that with the Tomb Raider. Do you know when the Tomb Raider, the reboot, that was exclusive to Xbox for a year? And I was all right with that. I was like, I'll play in a year when it comes to PlayStation.
Exactly. Speaking of RPGs, as we have been, just like to interject here with yet another question I'll be asking to certain people. So you've fallen under the content creator category of guest.
Oh.
So we are, unfortunately, you are the first victim to this segment. I hadn't quite come up with it when I had Rin and Joseph on, so you get to be the benchmark here.
Okay, the test dummy. I'm ready.
So this little segment is something I'm going to be calling Your Character, Your Cutscene. Working title, may be improved. Feel free to leave suggestions in the comments. So if you were an RPG protagonist, what would your sort of like the style of your character, what sort of class, look, vibe be? And the cutscene aspect of this, what would be your traditional over-the-top JRPG cutscene mode? The one that they've thrown the entire budget into this cutscene, like with all the spinning camera angles or 30,000 explosions going off. Like, what are we going for here? What would be the vibe that you put your character through?
Okay. So as for my character itself, I always resonate whenever I have the choice to pick with classes. If it's got a sword and a shield, I'll usually just try that, regardless of what game or what the properties of having those weapons are. So I probably would have a sword and shield of some style. I'd just be your average warrior. As for the cutscene I would love to partake in would be like the scenario where I get to give the speech. I've got a group of people in front of me. The world needs saving. I'm going to have the sword on my shoulder. I'm going to be walking back and forth. And I'm like, guys, behind me, there's a lot of crap going off. The end of the world. It's the end of the world. We need to band together. We need to settle our differences. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you're doing right now. It's what matters. And what I need is I need a team of people. I need people to be able to stand behind me and defeat whatever that bad thing is over there that's trying to destroy the world. And maybe I'll be standing on some boxes or a podium or something while I'm doing this. For just a good old classic, we got to do this speech. And really, like, there's going to be one person in the crowd that's going to be like, yes. There's going to be another one that's going to be like, it's really, really touching my heart. The pan across the crowd of all the different people getting involved. Like, yeah, that would be it. For some reason, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, just
It works. I love it. That's awesome.
The classic, and it's not the end of the world speech, but it could be.
It will be if we don't do something about it.
Yeah.
Think of the children.
Yep, I'll probably throw that line in there as well, and they'll be like, someone will be like,
I like that. I like that a lot. Feel that cutscenes aren't as influential as they used to be. They're taken for granted now, almost. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone appreciates a good cutscene, but there is a very big difference to how we viewed cutscenes in, say, Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9 to how we do now. And I don't know if that's because the transition between gameplay and cutscene in those games was such a stark difference in quality, or because of, again, this could be the nostalgia hitting, but the storytelling in those games. Because those cutscenes weren't voiced. It was all soundtrack and sound effects, but there was no voice acting. Do you feel that that's the case? Am I speaking just behalf of myself here, or do you think that they are not as influential or important and viewed as such a big moment in the games now?
I definitely agree. And I think maybe to a certain extent, because I definitely think for those that have played through the transition of text-based games to voice-acted games, like people that have played both and lived through that, it definitely has, because we read faster than we listen. Like, so sometimes we might be taking the life out of the cutscenes ourselves because we've already read the subtitle. We're not, do you know what I mean? We're just taking in the words. And that's probably on ourselves. I'm definitely done that a few times where I'm like, okay, next line, please. Like, just because I come from that text-based era where I could read at my own pace and use my own imagination. It's that, like, you're not taking away the imagination of what's going on, but you kind of are, because it's being, especially with the silent cutscenes as well, you get to make the judgment of what's going off, like, because they're not telling you what's going on, they're showing you, and it's up to your interpretation. With the voice cutscenes, it is what they are pitching to us. Maybe you will take the meaning a little bit differently, or maybe you'll take the vibe a little bit differently. But apart from that, it's a really big difference, like, of how you do it. Because I've played some games where the cutscenes have been masterful. I've been sweating. I've got goosebumps. I've been emotional. But then there's some of these epic moments, and they just fall flat, just because of, like, what you've mentioned, because maybe the transition from gameplay to cutscene isn't well executed. Like, especially with the older PS2 games, it's like they use different models, and almost like a different, like Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts is a victim to this, where they've got the low poly models and they've got the high quality ones when it comes to the more serious scenes. And even though probably on a CRT you probably don't notice that, but when you go back and it combined with the, man, I've read the dialogue, why can't I skip the, like, most games that have, like, spoken words, sometimes as soon as I've read the line, I will press, like, X to go to the next line, because, again, maybe that's me. I'm impatient.
No.
I think I'm impatient. I think it's because, I've read what you're going to say. I don't need to.
In your head, you've already processed all the information you need to process.
Yeah,
and you've drawn any visual prompt from that text.
Yeah. And I think it's probably down to, like, the way that it's directed and voice acted. Like Final Fantasy 16, I didn't do that at all. I didn't press X through any voice dialogue, just because the direction of that game was just captivating. Like you could hear the little bits of emotion, the little nuances in certain just from just everything. But some games fail to hit that, especially when I'm playing games like there's a series called, is it like Trails of Cold Steel?
Yeah,
Right?
I know the one you mean.
Yeah, like that's very much voiced, but I don't listen to the voices. I have no interest. I'm just trying to consume the story. That's probably just because the way that I probably just don't vibe with the way they're trying to, I don't know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The way that they're wanting me to perceive it, I'm not perceiving it the way they want. So yeah, I agree. It's a hit and miss thing in it. It depends on the game and how it's, because there's definitely games I will sit through. Like when the third part of the remake series come out, I'm not going to skip anything because I'm invested. It was the same with Rebirth.
Been invested for 20 odd years.
Yeah. And maybe that is down to like my personal preferences. Maybe I have a preference that I'm not fully aware of when I'm playing these games. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed. Some of the dialogue I'm listening to, but some of it I'm just like, yeah, not interested, like kind of thing. So maybe it's a game by game basis, or maybe it is just down to personal preference. But I definitely think anyone that's played text-based games prior and evolved with the evolution of the way a story is told through text and voice acting would know where I'm coming from. That definitely has a play in it.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you can think of that you might want to talk about before we just start wrapping things up here?
I'm really excited for the Switch 2. Final Fantasy IX Remake might be happening. Not much I can think of the top of the head now.
One last segment to close it out.
Okay.
This one is being asked to everyone categorically. So we've had some good answers. If you'd like some examples, I can give them to you. But it's time for NPC date night. So if you could take an NPC out from any RPG or MMO, not saying it has to be a romantic date, but just out for an activity. The activity can be in the world they're from or a real life activity. Who would you take out on this date and what would you do?
That is
yeah, on the spot.
On the spot. I'm definitely going to probably say a Final Fantasy, I think. But like, who would I want to spend time with and just chill and vibe with? And what would I want to do? You know,
if you repeat a character, I'll also tell you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm edging towards Final Fantasy VIII. Has anything come from 8?
Oh, no, you're safe there at the moment.
Okay. This is going to be an odd one, but I don't know. I think I would like to see how the day progressed in this situation, but I want to say Quistis from Final Fantasy VIII. I don't know. I kind of low-key like Quistis in a way. I'd be very interested to see.
Very underrated character.
Very interested to see if she would be the lecturer while we spend time together or just let her be herself. I'd be interested to see how that day pans out, but I'm sure she's got a lot of experience and a lot of things. So there's plenty of conversation, whether we want to go down to the training ground and just gaze in the night sky, or if we want to learn some blue magic. Yeah, and learn some blue magic. So
one of the only other Final Fantasy characters we've had mentioned is Josephine wanted to take Balthier out to the pub because that man has stories.
Yes. The leading man.
I did. So that is one thing that I've just hit that point in Rebirth. Obviously, Gideon Emery is the voice actor for Biggs as well.
Yeah.
And they made the leading man comment with Biggs as he's walking through Midgar with Zack about not wanting to be the leading man or don't want to make the decisions. I thought that was a fantastic throwback.
Rebirth has, like, once you've played it, like, give yourself some time, play through it again, because the amount of things that they've got in for, like, references to just being self-aware of itself is crazy. You might have picked up some already, but it's definitely worth rediving into as well.
Yeah. Very, very much looking forward to the rest of those answers, because they've already varied so greatly with different intentions behind every single answer. But yeah, if you just like to give yourself a little bit of an outro, let people know where they can find you, what you're all about. Obviously, all links and stuff will be in the description of the episode below. Discord links, whatever whatever we have down there will be down there, clickable, so please go click all the links. But yeah, thank you very much, Jen. If you'd like to just give yourself a little bit of an outro, let people know what you're all about, what sort of things you got coming up, maybe give some sneak peeks and spoilers that might not be sneak peeks and spoilers by the time this is released.
I'll be playing Final Fantasy IX Remake. I'm Genesis VII. You can call me Jen, easier off the tongue. But if you want a cool place to hang out for RPG content, that seems to be my vibe at the moment. If you want to see someone that loves Final Fantasy and has gone back and wants to replay them and see a perspective of that, or someone that's playing RPGs that they missed along the way and giving a fresh perspective on that, then my channel is probably a good place to go. And of course, anything news related when it comes to Final Fantasy, I'm usually on it. So if you want a good place to explode or complain about what's going off in the world of Final Fantasy, then, you know, my comment section is open. So that's me.
Fantastic. One last question to finish it off there. You briefly mentioned your platinum playlist that you have on YouTube for your Final Fantasies. Which one was the hardest to platinum?
It's a good question, because it's weighing up between, like, was it hard or did it just take a long time?
In terms of difficulty?
Difficulty, I would probably say Final Fantasy X is, because 9, even though the trophies look hard, and they are hard if you try and do them legitimately, you know, 9 is a difficult one. But 10 definitely takes time. I mean, one of the trophies is to complete the sphere grid of every single character. And if you've played Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation, you know that it doesn't come with any of the speed boosters. It doesn't come with any enhancements. So you are doing everything vanilla, or doing like the old strategies to get things faster. So I would say 10. But I think all in all, one that I'm not going to touch, probably 14 would be the hardest.
Depends on what you clarify that as, though, because if it's per expansion basis. But yeah, so just is one of the trophies for 10 to platinum, do you have to get all the celestial weapons?
I believe so, yes. So that would include lightning strikes, chocobo racing, and everything else. Blitzball, winning all the tournaments. Yeah, I think you'd have to play all of the mini games that 10 offers to get that platinum.
The chocobo racing was infuriating, absolutely infuriating.
I'm usually quite lucky with that. I usually get it within the first 10 goes every time.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of brush the dirt off my shoulder with that one. I'm sure the next time I do it, it will be the same.
Well, we'll see how the platinum trophy goes for 9 Remake with the skipping mini game.
Oh yes, I'm sure they're going to put some kind of reference in there, if it's real.
If it's real. By the time this releases, they'll have shadow dropped it tomorrow or something. Yep. April Fools, everyone.
And you'll be able to see my video on the channel.
But yeah, that's where we're going to leave this side quest. Much like a classic RPG, we wandered off without a map, ignored the main quest entirely, and spent way too long talking about things that weren't even on our objective list. But a big thanks to Genesis VII for joining me, even if he is the kind of guy who will definitely walk into the hardest optional boss under level just to prove a point. If you've made it this far, you're basically part of the party now, so just do us a favor, hit like, drop a comment, subscribe to the podcast, hit it on YouTube, join the Discord, do all the things, and maybe even tell us what ridiculous game you have got hopelessly lost in, because we've all done it. The adventure doesn't stop there. Next time we're going to shake things up a bit. I will be being joined by Felix Klein. He is the co-founder of Radical Fish Games and one of the people responsible for Crosscode. So if you like pixel art, RPG chaos, and a developer that knows how to finish their side quests, make sure you're here for that one. So as for now, we've reached our save point. See you next time, and remember, every great adventure starts with a side quest.